She was forced to marry a disabled billionaire. Part 2. Now she's carrying his twins and her past returns. Clara Sterling stood in the bathroom of their Malibu mansion, staring at the pregnancy test in her trembling hands. 2 pink lines. But that wasn't what made her knees weak. It was the ultrasound report from yesterday that lay beside it. Twins. She was carrying Gabriel's twins, and she'd just received a call that changed everything. Her father, the man who'd sold her into marriage to save his company, was standing at their gate, beaten bloody, begging for help. "Clara," Gabriel's voice carried from the bedroom, warm with morning contentment, "are you all right in there?" She looked at herself in the mirror. 7 weeks pregnant with twins, married to a man who'd learned to walk again, partly for her, living a life she'd never dreamed possible. And now, her past was literally bleeding at their doorstep, threatening to destroy everything they'd built. "I'm fine," she called back, though her voice cracked. "Gabriel, my father's here." The silence that followed was deafening. She heard the mechanical whir of his wheelchair. He still used it in the mornings when his legs were stiff. And then he was there, filling the doorway, reading everything in her face. "What's wrong? Is he hurt?" "He says he owes money. Bad people. They'll kill him if—" She stopped, her hand instinctively moving to her still flat stomach. "Gabriel, I'm pregnant, with twins, and my father's about to bring danger to our door." Gabriel's face went through several emotions: joy at the pregnancy news, fury at her father's timing, and finally, the protective determination she'd come to love. "Show me the test," he said softly. She handed him both the test and the ultrasound report. His hands shook as he read, and when he looked up, tears were streaming down his face. "Twins," he whispered. "Clara, we're having twins. And my father's about to get us all killed." "No," Gabriel said firmly, pulling himself up from the wheelchair to stand, his new strength evident. "No one touches my family ever. Before we continue this incredible next chapter, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. If you're returning from part 1, welcome back. If you're new, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell for more emotional love stories. They found her father in the security office at the main gate. Richard Hayes looked nothing like the desperate businessman who'd signed his daughter away 2 years ago. His expensive suit was torn, his face swollen and purple, blood still seeping from a cut above his eye. But it was the fear in his eyes that made Clara's stomach turn. "Clara, sweetheart, thank God," he started, reaching for her. Gabriel moved between them, his cane steady in his hand. "Don't. You lost the right to call her sweetheart when you traded her like property. I know what I did was wrong, but please, they'll kill me. I need $2 million by tomorrow night or—" "$2 million?" Clara gasped. "What did you do?" Richard's shoulders sagged. After the wedding, the company recovered thanks to Gabriel's investment. But I got greedy. Started gambling. Big wins at first, then bigger losses. I borrowed from the Kozlov family to cover them." Gabriel's expression darkened. Everyone knew the Kozlov name. Russian mob, ruthless, known for making examples of people who couldn't pay. "You borrowed from the Russian mob," Clara's voice rose. "And now you come here? To our home?" "I had nowhere else to go. Clara, please, I'm your father." "You stopped being my father the day you sold me to pay your debts," Clara said coldly, though her hands shook. "We have children to protect now." "Children?" Richard's eyes widened. "Leave," Gabriel commanded. "Martin will drive you to a hotel. I'll have my lawyers contact you about possible options, but you don't come near this house again. Gabriel, please, you have 30 seconds before I call the police and report you for trespassing." After Richard was escorted away, Clara collapsed on the couch, her whole body shaking. Gabriel sat beside her, pulling her against him. "We're not paying them," he said firmly. "They'll kill him." "Maybe." She pulled back to look at him, shocked by his coldness. "Gabriel, he sold you, Clara, traded you to a stranger to save himself. Now he's brought danger to our door when you're pregnant with our children. I won't risk you or them for him. So we just let him die. We find another way. But Clara, I need you to understand something. If I have to choose between him and our family, there's no choice. It's you and these babies always." That night Clara couldn't sleep. She stood on their bedroom balcony, looking out at the ocean, when her phone rang. Unknown number. "Mrs. Sterling?" The voice was female, cold, slightly accented. "My name is Natasha Kozlov. I believe your father owes my family money." Clara's blood froze. "How did you get this number?" "We know everything about everyone who owes us money, including their families. Your father mentioned you married well, Gabriel Sterling, yes? The billionaire who miraculously learned to walk again for love. How romantic. What do you want?" $2 million. Tomorrow. Or your father dies. Then we come for your husband's money anyway. Did you know a man in a wheelchair can't run? Even one who can sometimes walk. If you threaten my husband... Threat? No, Mrs. Sterling. Promise. 2 million by tomorrow night, or we start with your father and work our way to your beautiful Malibu home. Sleep well. The line went dead. Clara turned to find Gabriel standing in the doorway, having heard everything from his side. "They threatened you," she said, her voice hollow. "They threatened our children," he corrected, his hand moving to her stomach. "That was their mistake." He pulled out his phone, making a call. "Marcus, Emergency Protocol 7. Yes, now. And get me Alex Volkov." "Who's Alex Volkov?" "Someone who makes the Kozlovs look like children playing gangster." He pulled her inside, locking the balcony door. "Pack a bag. We're leaving in 10 minutes. "Gabriel, what are you doing?" "What I should have done the moment your father showed up, protecting my family properly." Within an hour, they were in a safe house in the hills, security everywhere. Clara watched Gabriel transform from her loving husband into the ruthless businessman the world feared. He made call after call, moving pieces on a chessboard she couldn't see. "The Kozlovs have a weakness," Marcus reported, entering the living room. "They're in a territory dispute with the Volkov family. Alex Volkov is willing to help for the right price." "He'll have it," Gabriel said without hesitation. "Gabriel," Clara protested, "we can't get involved with Russian mob wars. We're already involved. They threatened you. They threatened our unborn children. This ends now." A knock at the door made everyone tense. Martin checked the security camera, then looked confused. "Sir, it's a woman. Says she's Emily's sister." Gabriel went rigid. "Emily, his fiancée, who died in the accident that paralyzed him." "Let her in," he said quietly. The woman who entered looked hauntingly like Emily. Same blonde hair, same delicate features, but her eyes were cold where Emily's had been warm. "Hello, Gabriel," she said. "I'm Rebecca Chen, Emily's sister." "Rebecca," Gabriel breathed. "I didn't know Emily had a sister." "Half-sister. Different mothers. She didn't talk about me because I was problematic." Rebecca smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I've been away. Prison, actually. But I'm out now, and I wanted to meet the man who killed my sister." Clara stood, moving protectively toward Gabriel. "He didn't kill her. It was an accident." "An accident he caused," Rebecca countered. "Driving too fast, showing off, playing millionaire playboy. And now look, walking again, married, babies on the way, while Emily is rotting in the ground." "Why are you here?" Gabriel asked, his voice steady despite the pain in his eyes. "Originally to destroy you. I had this whole plan. Seduce you, make you fall for me, then destroy everything you love." She laughed bitterly. "But then I've been watching you for weeks. Saw how you look at her." She nodded at Clara. "Saw you at that soccer field with those boys. You really love them." "I do. Emily would have wanted that. She would have wanted you happy." Rebecca's voice cracked slightly. "But I'm not Emily. I'm the sister who went to prison for assault, who has nothing left but anger. So I'm going to give you a choice." "What choice?" $5 million, and I disappear forever. Or I go public with everything. The drinking before the accident, the cover-up your parents orchestrated, the real reason Emily was in the car that night." Clara felt Gabriel tense. "What real reason?" Rebecca smiled cruelly. "She was leaving you, Gabriel. She'd been having an affair for months. She was pregnant with another man's child. She was going to tell you that night, but you insisted on celebrating your big deal first. One more drink, one more toast to your success. Then you drove. The silence in the room was deafening. Clara watched her husband crumble, his newfound strength evaporating. "You're lying," he whispered. "Am I?" Rebecca pulled out a folder, tossing it on the coffee table. "DNA report from the autopsy. The baby wasn't yours. Letter she wrote but never sent, explaining everything. She felt trapped by your success, your need to control everything." Sound familiar, Clara? Clara picked up the papers, scanning them quickly. They looked real. The letterhead was authentic, the dates matched. Her heart broke for Gabriel, but more than that, she felt rage. "So what?" she said, surprising everyone, including herself. "Excuse me?" Rebecca blinked. "So what if she was leaving him? So what if she had an affair? That doesn't make the accident his fault, and it definitely doesn't give you the right to extort money from him now. He killed my sister." "The accident killed your sister. An accident that, yes, he caused, but not murder. He's lived with that guilt for years, punished himself more than you ever could. And now, when he's finally healing, finally building something good, you want to destroy it for money." "Clara," Gabriel said softly, "it's okay. If it's true—" "No, it's not okay." She turned to Rebecca. "You want 5 million? Fine. But not as extortion. As an investment." "What?" "My company helps women rebuild their lives. You just got out of prison. You need a fresh start. Work with us. Help other women who've been through trauma. Turn your anger into something useful." Rebecca stared at her. "You're offering me a job." "I'm offering you a purpose. Emily's dead. You can't bring her back by destroying Gabriel, but you can honor her memory by helping others." "This is insane." "This is forgiveness," Clara said. "Something Gabriel taught me. Something that might save your life because right now we have bigger problems than your need for revenge." She explained about the Kozlovs, about the threat. Rebecca listened, her expression shifting from anger to something else. Concern, maybe. "The Kozlovs," she said slowly. "They're who I bought my fake documents from when I was planning this. I know things about their operation." Gabriel looked up sharply. "What kind of things?" "Enough to make them back off if used correctly." She paused. "I'll help you. Not for money, not for a job, but because Emily would have. She always protected people, even when they didn't deserve it." "Why should we trust you?" Martin asked. "Because I have nothing left to lose," Rebecca said simply, "and maybe, just maybe, I'm tired of being angry." Over the next 24 hours, Clara watched her husband orchestrate a corporate war that would be studied in business schools for decades. Using Rebecca's information about the Kozlovs' money laundering operations and Alex Volkov's territorial ambitions, Gabriel set up a scenario where the Kozlovs had bigger problems than one gambling debt. "It's done," Marcus announced, entering the safe house. "The Kozlovs have agreed to forgive your father's debt in exchange for our silence about their Canadian operations." "And my father?" Clara asked. "Being relocated to Florida. Mandatory Gamblers Anonymous, monthly check-ins with our security team. Any gambling activity and the deal's void." Clara sagged with relief, then tensed as a sharp pain shot through her abdomen. "Clara?" Gabriel was beside her instantly. "Something's wrong," she gasped. "The baby's—" Blood. There was blood and pain, and Gabriel's terrified face as he carried her to the car. The race to the hospital was a blur of sirens, and Gabriel's voice promising everything would be okay. "It's stress," the doctor explained hours later. "The pregnancy is high risk because it's twins. You need complete bed rest for at least a month, possibly longer." "But they're okay?" Gabriel asked, clutching Clara's hand. "For now. But any more stress could trigger early labor. These babies need at least another 20 weeks to be safe." Clara looked at Gabriel, seeing her own fear reflected in his eyes. They'd fought so hard for their family, and now they might lose everything to the stress of protecting it. "Whatever it takes," Gabriel said firmly. "We'll do whatever it takes." The next month passed slowly. Clara was confined to bed, working remotely while Gabriel hovered constantly. Rebecca, surprisingly, stayed to help, bringing Clara food and keeping her company during the long days. "Why are you really here?" Clara asked one afternoon. Rebecca was quiet for a moment. "Because you were right. Emily would have wanted me to be better. And watching you and Gabriel, you have what she wanted. Real love, not the obligation she felt with him. He loved her. He loved the idea of her. Perfect Emily, suitable Emily, approved by his parents Emily. But you, he loves you, the real, complicated, fierce you. How do you know? Because he gave up everything for you. His parents' approval, social standing, the easy path. Emily never inspired that in him. You transformed him." That evening, Gabriel sat beside Clara's bed, his hand on her growing belly. "They're moving," he said in wonder. "Both of them. They're strong like their father. Like their mother." He paused. "Clara, what Rebecca said about Emily doesn't matter. Whatever happened then, it brought us here, to this moment, this family, this love. How are you so forgiving? I learned from the best, a man who forgave me for not telling him about the triplets for months, who forgave my father for selling me, who forgives himself a little more each day for an accident that wasn't entirely his fault." Gabriel kissed her softly. "What did I do to deserve you? You caught me when I fell, literally that first night, and figuratively every day since." A knock interrupted them. Martin entered, looking grim. "Sir, we have a problem. Your parents are here, with lawyers." Gabriel's parents stood in the living room like ice sculptures, cold, perfect, and utterly out of place in the warm home Clara had created. Richard Sterling Sr. held a thick legal document, while Margaret Sterling clutched her pearls with white knuckles. "You can't be serious," Gabriel said, still seated beside Clara's bed, watching them through the tablet Martin had brought up. "We're entirely serious," his father said to the camera. "You're clearly having a mental breakdown. First you remarry that woman in a public spectacle, then you're involved with Russian criminals. Now she's pregnant with twins that could inherit everything if something happens to you." "Those twins are your grandchildren," Gabriel said coldly. "Are they?" Margaret's voice was sharp. "How convenient that she's pregnant, just when her father brings criminals to your door. Have you had a paternity test?" Clara felt Gabriel's entire body go rigid with rage. Before he could speak, she placed a calming hand on his arm. "Let me," she said quietly, then louder to the screen. "Mrs. Sterling, I understand you've never approved of me. I'm black, I'm from a working-class background, and I wasn't your choice. But these are Gabriel's children, and whether you believe that or not doesn't change the fact that we're a family." "Family?" Richard Sr. scoffed. "You're a gold digger who signed a prenup giving me nothing if we divorce," Clara interrupted. "Who started my own successful company without Gabriel's money, who loved your son when he couldn't walk, when he hated himself, when he believed he deserved to be alone forever." "We're petitioning for conservatorship," Margaret announced, "on grounds of mental incapacity. The accident clearly affected Gabriel's judgment more than we realized." "Get out," Gabriel said quietly, dangerously. "Son, I am not your son. Not anymore. You have 30 seconds to leave before security removes you." "We'll see you in court," Richard Sr. said, turning to leave. "And we'll win. No judge will side with a cripple and his opportunistic wife over concerned parents." After they left, Gabriel sat in stunned silence. Clara could see him retreating into himself, the old wounds his parents always managed to reopen bleeding fresh. "They can't actually get conservatorship," Clara said. "You're obviously mentally competent. They can tie us up in court for years, drain resources, create public doubt about my capability to run the company." He laughed bitterly. "They'd rather destroy me than accept you." "Then we destroy them first," Rebecca said from the doorway. She'd been listening, her expression furious. "Sorry, but I know something about toxic parents. Mine disowned Emily for dating outside our race. Sound familiar?" "What are you suggesting?" Gabriel asked. "Your parents have secrets. Everyone does. Let me dig." "Rebecca, they just threatened a pregnant woman on bed rest and called you a cripple. Let me destroy them. Consider it my therapy." Gabriel looked at Clara, who nodded slightly. "Do it," he said, "but carefully. Nothing illegal." "Wouldn't dream of it," Rebecca said with a smile that suggested otherwise. 2 weeks passed. Clara's condition stabilized, though she remained on bed rest. The twins were growing well, and Gabriel had converted his home office into a second bedroom so he could work while staying close to her. "The Indonesian deal closed," he told her one morning, bringing her breakfast. "That's another 100 million in revenue. All while fighting your parents and protecting me from Russian mobsters. Just a typical month for Gabriel Sterling. Our sons are going to have interesting stories." "Daughters," Clara corrected. "I'm carrying daughters." "We don't know yet." Mother's intuition. He kissed her belly, then her lips. "Daughters who'll be CEOs, or artists, or teachers, or baristas, whatever makes them happy, as long as they're safe and loved. With you as their father. Always." Martin knocked, entering with Rebecca. Both looked pleased. "We found it," Rebecca announced. "Your father has been embezzling from the Sterling Foundation for 6 years. Small amounts, but consistent. Your mother has been having an affair with her tennis instructor for 3 years. Gabriel's expression didn't change. "Proof? Financial records, emails, photos," Martin confirmed. "Enough to destroy them socially and legally. Do they know we know?" "Not yet." "Set up a meeting. Tomorrow, here." "Sir, you can't bring them near Mrs. Sterling in her condition." "They need to see her, need to understand what they're threatening." The next day, Gabriel's parents arrived to find their son standing, fully standing, no cane, no support, in the doorway. "You're walking," Margaret said, shocked. "I've been walking for months. You'd know that if you'd bothered to visit instead of plotting to destroy my family." He led them to the living room, where Clara was propped up on the couch, her pregnancy now obvious at 5 months with twins. "Sit," Gabriel commanded. They sat. "We know about the embezzlement," he said simply. "We know about the affair. We have proof of both." His parents went pale. Richard Sr. started to speak, but Gabriel held up a hand. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to withdraw the conservatorship petition. You're going to publicly announce your support for my marriage and excitement about your grandchildren. You're going to transfer your Sterling Corp shares to Clara as a gift to your future grandchildren." "That's extortion," his father sputtered. "That's consequences," Gabriel corrected. "You tried to destroy my pregnant wife's peace during a high-risk pregnancy. You called me mentally incompetent. You've spent years making Clara feel worthless. This is mercy compared to what I want to do." "Gabriel," his mother said, tears forming, "we just wanted what was best." "No, you wanted what looked best. There's a difference." He moved to sit beside Clara, taking her hand. "This woman saved me. When I was broken, she made me whole. When I was bitter, she taught me forgiveness. When I thought I'd never walk again, she gave me a reason to try." "The children," Margaret said weakly. "They'll be beautiful, brilliant." "Loved," Clara interrupted. "They'll be everything you're afraid of. Mixed race, proud, unashamed. And they'll know their worth isn't in their bloodline or bank account, but in their character." "1 week," Gabriel said. "You have 1 week to comply with all demands. After that, everything goes public." His parents left without another word. Clara could see the victory was hollow for Gabriel. He'd wanted their love, not their surrender. "They'll come around," she said softly. "No, they won't. But our children will have better grandparents. Your mother, your aunts, the family we choose." That night Clara woke to cramping. "Gabriel, what's wrong? Something's happening. The baby's—" This time the hospital trip was even more terrifying. The doctors confirmed what they feared: early labor at 24 weeks. "We're going to try to stop it," Dr. Martinez explained. "Every day we can keep them inside gives them a better chance." For 3 days, Clara lay in the hospital bed, medications flowing through IVs, Gabriel never leaving her side. Rebecca brought food, Martin coordinated security, Marcus ran the company remotely. "I'm scared," Clara admitted on the 3rd night. "Me too," Gabriel said, his hand on her belly. "But they're fighters, like their mother. What if we lose them?" "We won't." "You can't know that." "I can believe it. I have to." On the 4th day, Clara's body stopped responding to the medications. "We need to deliver," Dr. Martinez said. "Their chances at 24 weeks and 4 days are reasonable with our NICU." Clara looked at Gabriel, terrified. "It's too early." "They're strong," he said, though she could see his fear. "They're our children. They'll fight." The C-section was a blur. Clara heard the first cry, weak but present, then the second. 2 daughters, just as she'd predicted, each barely over a pound, immediately whisked to the NICU. "Go with them," Clara told Gabriel. "Please don't let them be alone." For 2 months, the NICU became their world. Sophia and Isabella Sterling fought for every breath, every ounce, every milestone. Gabriel divided his time between Clara's recovery and sitting beside the incubators, reading business reports to his daughters, telling them about the world waiting for them. "Your mum is the strongest person I know," he told them during one late-night vigil. "She chose me when I was broken, saved me when I thought I was beyond saving. You're going to be just like her, fierce and compassionate and brave." Clara watched from her wheelchair, the C-section recovery complicated by the stress, as Gabriel tenderly changed impossibly small diapers, administered carefully measured bottles, sang off-key lullabies he remembered from his grandmother. "You're a natural," she said. "They make it easy. Look at them. They're perfect. They're in incubators with tubes and wires everywhere." "And they're perfect," he insisted. Rebecca visited daily, bringing coffee and gossip from the outside world. "Your parents published the announcement," she told them one day. Full support, excitement about their granddaughters, the whole thing. "Good," Gabriel said, not looking up from Isabella, who was finally breathing without assistance. "They also deposited $50 million in trust funds for the girls." That made him look up. "What?" "Guilt money, probably, but still." "We don't need their money." "No," Clara said thoughtfully, "but the girls might want the choice someday, to know them or not, to accept them or not. You're more forgiving than I am." "I'm more practical. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means not letting anger poison what we have." Slowly, miraculously, the girls grew stronger. At 3 months old, they came home, still tiny but fierce, still fragile but fighting. The house had been transformed with medical equipment, monitors, specialized everything. "Welcome home, my loves," Clara whispered, holding both daughters for the first time without wires. Gabriel wrapped his arms around all 3 of them, and Clara felt his tears on her shoulder. "We made it," he said, "all of us." "Was there ever any doubt?" she teased. "So much doubt. But you taught me something." "What's that?" "That the forced moments, the ones we don't choose, sometimes lead to the most beautiful destinations." Clara thought about their journey. The forced marriage that became real love, the blackmail that led to forgiveness, the early birth that tested their strength, the parents who rejected them but ultimately taught them what not to be. "No more forced moments," she said. "From now on, we choose everything." "Everything," Gabriel agreed. 6 months later, they stood in the garden where they'd had their second wedding, this time for the girls' blessing ceremony. Clara's father stood in the back, sober for 8 months, rebuilding slowly. Gabriel's parents sat in the middle, stiff but present, trying. Rebecca stood as godmother, holding Sophia while Gabriel held Isabella. "These children," the officiant said, "are born of love that overcame obstacle, of faith that conquered fear, of choice that defeated circumstance." Clara looked at her family, complicated, imperfect, chosen and unchosen, blood and water. Then she looked at Gabriel, the man she'd been forced to marry who became the love she chose every day. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too," he replied. "Thank you for being forced to marry me." She laughed, remembering their beginning, the contract, the fear, the reluctant wedding night that changed everything. "Thank you for making me want to stay." As if understanding, both babies cooed and the garden filled with laughter. Later that evening, as they put the girls to bed in their nursery, decorated with Ezra's artwork from the first marriage, Gabriel pulled out a document. "What's this?" "A contract," he said with a smile. "Like the first one, but different." Clara read it, tears forming. It wasn't a legal document, but a handwritten promise. "I, Gabriel Sterling. Promise to choose Clara Sterling every day for the rest of my life. To stand for her, literally now that I can, to fight for her, to love her without condition or reservation. This is not forced. This is not negotiated. This is simply true. Do I need to sign it? She asked, laughing through tears. No contracts between us anymore. Just promises. Then I promise too. To choose you when it's hard, when it's easy, when the world approves, when it doesn't. To love you walking or rolling, successful or struggling, perfect or broken. They kissed over their sleeping daughters, two people who'd been forced together by desperate circumstances, but stayed together by desperate choice. Our daughters are going to hear this story someday, Clara said. What do we tell them? The truth. That Mommy was forced to marry Daddy to save Grandpa's company. That Daddy was too broken to believe in love. That their first time together changed everything. That Daddy wouldn't let Mommy go, not because of the contract, but because of connection. They'll think we're crazy. We are crazy. Crazy in love, crazy committed, crazy about each other. Isabella stirred, and Gabriel picked her up, his movements confident now. The man who'd been paralyzed, who'd been told he'd never walk again, stood strong with his daughter in his arms. Your story starts differently than most, he told the baby, but all the best stories do. 3 years passed in a blur of first steps, first words, and firsts that Gabriel had never imagined he'd witness. The twins were thriving, Sophia with Clara's fierce determination, and Isabella with Gabriel's quiet intensity. They were running through the mansion's gardens when Clara's phone rang with a call that would change everything again. Mrs. Sterling, this is Dr. Yamamoto from the Spinal Research Institute. We've been following your husband's remarkable recovery. We have a proposition. Gabriel was in his study, walking without assistance now, teaching the girls to count using his collection of rare coins when Clara found him. There's something we need to discuss, she said, her expression unreadable. Mommy, Daddy's teaching us money, Sophia announced. That's wonderful, baby. Can you girls go play in your room for a bit? After they scampered off, Clara sat across from Gabriel. The Spinal Research Institute called. They want to study your recovery, document it. They think your combination of traditional therapy, experimental treatment, and what they're calling emotional rehabilitation could help thousands. What does that mean? They want our whole story, the marriage, the divorce, finding each other again, the children, everything. Gabriel was quiet for a moment. That's our private life. It could help people, other couples dealing with paralysis, forced marriages that became real, women in situations like mine was. What do you think? I think we've been keeping our happiness to ourselves. Maybe it's time to share it. The documentary took 6 months to film. They told everything, the contract, the wedding night, the divorce, the reunion, the twins. Gabriel's parents even participated, awkwardly admitting their mistakes on camera. I nearly lost my son because I couldn't see past my prejudice, Margaret Sterling said, tears genuine for once. Clara saved him. In every way a person can be saved. Richard Hayes, Clara's father, now 3 years sober, spoke about redemption. I sold my daughter. There's no pretty way to say it. But she forgave me, and that forgiveness saved my life. Rebecca, who now ran a successful division of Clara's company helping women restart their lives, talked about choosing forgiveness over revenge. I came to destroy them. Instead, they rebuilt me. But the most powerful moment was when Gabriel stood from his wheelchair on camera, taking those steps that had once seemed impossible. They said I'd never walk again, he said, Clara beside him, but they didn't account for love, for having someone worth standing for. The documentary, titled Forced to Choose, became a sensation. Letters poured in from around the world. Couples facing disability, women in arranged marriages, families dealing with prejudice. One letter stood out. It was from a young woman named Amara in India, forced to marry a man paralyzed in an accident. Your story gave me hope, she wrote. that forced beginnings can have chosen endings. Clara and Gabriel started a foundation, not just for spinal injuries or forced marriages, but for anyone whose life had taken an unexpected turn. They called it Second Chances, and within a year, it was helping hundreds of families. The twins grew up knowing their parents' story, understanding that love wasn't always pretty or easy or chosen at first. At age 5, Isabella asked the question they'd been waiting for. "Why did Grandpa Hayes make you marry Daddy?" Clara, now pregnant with their third child, a boy this time, looked at Gabriel. They'd prepared for this moment. "Because sometimes," Clara explained carefully, "adults make mistakes with money. Grandpa needed help and Daddy could provide it. But Grandpa was wrong to trade me for that help." "Like trading toys?" Sophia asked. "Except people aren't toys," Gabriel said. "People can't be traded or owned. What Grandpa did was wrong." "But if he didn't do the wrong thing, we wouldn't exist," Isabella pointed out with 5-year-old logic. Clara and Gabriel exchanged glances. Their daughter had inadvertently hit upon the paradox they'd struggled with for years. "That's true," Clara said. "Sometimes wrong things lead to right outcomes, but that doesn't make the wrong things okay." "Is that why Grandpa Hayes lives in the little house and not with us?" Sophia asked. "Grandpa lives there because he's still learning to make good choices," Gabriel explained. "But we love him and forgive him. Like you forgive Grandma and Grandpa Sterling for being mean to Mommy." "Exactly like that." The girls seemed satisfied, running off to play. Clara rubbed her growing belly, feeling their son kick. "We're really doing this again?" Gabriel asked, his hand joining hers. "Apparently. This one was definitely chosen, though." All of them were chosen, eventually. That evening, they attended a gala for the Second Chances Foundation. Clara, radiant in a gown that accommodated her 6-month bump, watched Gabriel work the room. He moved with confidence now, no trace of the chair, except the one they kept in the corner of their bedroom, a reminder of where they'd been. "Ladies and gentlemen," Gabriel said, taking the microphone, 7 years ago I was paralyzed in every sense, physically, emotionally, spiritually. A woman was forced to marry me for financial reasons. It should have been a disaster. The room was silent, captivated. Instead, it became a love story, not because it was meant to be, but because we chose to make it one. Clara taught me that the circumstances of our beginning don't determine our ending, that forced starts can become chosen journeys. Clara joined him on stage, taking the mic. "Gabriel taught me that strength isn't about walking or standing. It's about getting up every day and choosing love over fear, forgiveness over bitterness, hope over despair. Our foundation has helped 300 families this year," Gabriel continued, "each one choosing to rebuild rather than retreat. Each one proving that second chances aren't just possible, they're powerful." The applause was thunderous. As they left the stage, Clara felt a familiar tightening in her belly. "Gabriel, what's wrong? I think our son has decided to make an early entrance. Now? You're only 6 months. Tell that to him." This time they knew what to do. The hospital was ready, the NICU on standby, but surprisingly the labor stopped after a few hours. "False alarm," Dr. Martinez said, "but take it easy. Your body's been through a lot with the twins' early arrival." They went home to find the girls waiting with Clara's mother, who'd moved to LA to be closer. "Is baby brother okay?" Isabella asked, concerned. "He's fine, just eager to meet you," Clara said. Like we were eager, Sophia remembered. They'd been told about their early arrival, though the scarier details were saved for when they were older. Exactly like that. That night, after the girls were asleep, Clara and Gabriel sat in their bedroom, looking at the wheelchair in the corner. "Should we keep it?" Clara asked. "Now that you don't need it?" "I might need it again someday. The doctors say the improvement could reverse as I age." "Then we'll deal with that when it comes." "You'd stay? Even if I ended up back in the chair permanently?" Clara looked at him like he was crazy. "Gabriel Sterling, I was forced to marry you when you couldn't walk. I chose to remarry you when you could barely stand. I've loved you in every state of mobility. A wheelchair doesn't change that. What did I do to deserve you?" You gave me a chance when you had every reason not to. You could have had the marriage annulled that first morning. Could have sent me away. Instead, you let me see who you really were. Broken and bitter. Human and hurting. Worth loving. Their son, James Gabriel Sterling, was born at full term, healthy and loud, with Clara's eyes and Gabriel's stubborn chin. The girls were instantly smitten, fighting over who got to hold him. "He's so small," Sophia whispered. "You were smaller," Gabriel told her. "Much smaller, but just as perfect." As Clara watched her husband, now walking freely, carry their son while their daughters danced around him, she thought about that desperate girl who'd sat on a stranger's lap in terror, that forced bride who'd stood at an altar in fear. "No regrets?" Gabriel asked, catching her expression. "How can I regret the path that led us here? Even the forced beginning?" "Especially that. It taught us that choice is precious, that love is a decision we make daily." 5 years later, at the twins' 10th birthday party, Clara watched their family, chaotic, blended, chosen and unchosen. Her father, now 8 years sober, helping with decorations. Gabriel's parents, still stiff but trying, giving the girls probably too expensive gifts. Rebecca, godmother and aunt by choice, teaching James to paint. "Mommy," Isabella said, pulling her aside. "Emma at school said our family is weird, that you and Daddy have a strange story." Clara knelt to her daughter's level. "What do you think?" "I think Emma's parents met at a coffee shop, and that's boring." Clara laughed. "Our story is definitely not boring." "Tell us again, the real version." So Clara gathered all 3 children and told them the fuller story, age-appropriate but honest. About fear and contracts, about choosing love when it was hard, about forgiveness and second chances. "So Daddy really wouldn't let you go?" James asked, wide-eyed. "Not wouldn't, couldn't," Gabriel corrected, joining them. "Once I knew what real love was, I couldn't let it go." "And you really couldn't walk?" Sophia asked, though she'd heard this before. "I couldn't. The doctors said I never would, but your mom gave me reasons to try. You all did, even before you were born." "We're magic," James declared. "No," Clara said. "We're a family. That's better than magic. It's real." That night, after the party, after the chaos, Clara and Gabriel stood on their balcony, looking out at the ocean. Gabriel was behind her, arms wrapped around her waist, solid and strong. "Did you ever imagine this?" Clara asked. "When you signed that contract?" "Never. I thought I was doing business. I had no idea I was finding my life." "When did you know that it was real?" "That first night, when you cried in my arms, not from fear but from release, when you trusted me with your vulnerability. I knew then I'd never let you go. That's why you asked for the divorce. You knew I needed to choose you freely. And you did. You chose me when I was in the chair, when I was walking, when my parents were horrible, when yours brought danger. You kept choosing me. And you chose me when you could have had anyone, when walking again gave you options, when beautiful, uncomplicated women threw themselves at you. There was never a choice, it was always you." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the waves, when Clara felt it, a flutter in her belly. She grabbed Gabriel's hand, placing it on her stomach. "Clara, are you—" "I think so. I'll take a test tomorrow." "A 4th? Apparently we're overachievers." Gabriel spun her around, kissing her deeply. "Another baby. Another choice. Another chance. Another piece of our unlikely love story. Nothing unlikely about it anymore. It seems inevitable now. Only in hindsight. In the moment, it was all impossible." 9 months later, their second son was born. Daniel Richard Sterling, named for resilience and redemption. The older children doted on him, their family complete in ways Clara never could have imagined. The documentary about their story had inspired a movie, which they'd refused to authorize until the producer promised to show the whole truth, the ugly parts, the beautiful parts, the messy middle where most of life happened. At the premiere, Clara wore the same style dress she'd worn to that first forced wedding, but in white instead of cream. Gabriel wore a tux, but kept his cane with him, not because he needed it, but as a reminder. "How does it feel?" a reporter asked, "watching your forced marriage become a Hollywood love story?" Clara and Gabriel looked at each other, sharing a private smile. "It feels," Clara said carefully, "like proof that the worst things that happen to us can become the best things, if we're brave enough to transform them." "Mr. Sterling," another reporter called out, "you famously said you wouldn't let Clara go. Any regrets about that?" "Only one," Gabriel said. "I should have said it sooner." Inside the theater, they sat with their children, the baby with a sitter at home, their parents, Rebecca, and the extended family they'd built. As they watched actors portray their most vulnerable moments, Clara felt Gabriel's hand find hers. "Too weird," he whispered. "Too perfect," she replied. The movie ended with their second wedding, but Clara knew the real story was still being written. Every day they chose each other, every challenge they faced together, every child they raised with the knowledge that love wasn't about perfect beginnings, but persistent choices. After the premiere, a young woman approached them, tears in her eyes. "I'm being forced to marry someone," she said quietly. "For my family's business. After seeing your story, Is there hope?" Clara took the girl's hands. "There's always hope, but not because forced marriages work out. Most don't. The hope is in knowing you have choices within the circumstances. Choose your boundaries. Choose your truth. Choose to protect yourself. And if you're lucky," Gabriel added, "choose love, but only if it's real, only if it's mutual, only if it's chosen by both." "How do you know?" "When someone sees you at your worst and chooses to stay," Clara said. "When you see them at their worst and want to help them heal. When forced becomes chosen, so gradually you can't remember when it changed." The girl left with their foundations card and a glimmer of hope. Clara knew they couldn't save everyone, but they could share their story, offer resources, show that even forced beginnings could have chosen endings. 10 years after that forced wedding, they renewed their vows again, this time with all 4 children participating. James walked Clara down the aisle since her father had passed peacefully the year before, finally at peace with his redemption. The twins stood as bridesmaids, and baby Daniel was the ring-bearer, toddling unsteadily but determinedly. 10 years ago, Gabriel said in his vows, "I was a broken man who thought money could buy anything, including a wife. I was right about one thing. I did buy a wife. What I didn't know was that she would buy me back with love, patience, and forgiveness. Clara, you were forced to marry me, but I choose to marry you again and again, every single day." 10 years ago, Clara replied, "I was a desperate woman who thought I was being sold. I was right. I was sold. What I didn't know was that I was also buying my freedom, my future, my family. Gabriel, I was forced to marry you, but I choose to love you, freely and completely, for all our days." As they kissed, their children cheered, and Clara heard Isabella whisper to Sophia, "Our parents are so extra." "The best love stories are," Sophia whispered back, and she was right. Their love story was extra. Extra complicated, extra difficult, extra powerful. It was forced and chosen, broken and healed, impossible and inevitable. Later, as they danced at the reception, Gabriel spinning her without hesitation, his legs strong and sure, Clara thought about the girl she'd been, scared, trapped, certain her life was over. "What are you thinking?" Gabriel asked. "About that first night. How terrified I was. And now I'm grateful. For all of it. Even the forcing. Even the contract. Especially the contract. It brought me you. It brought us each other." As the music played and their children danced around them, the triplets from their first marriage tall and laughing, the twins graceful and bold, James earnest and sweet, Daniel toddling joyfully, Clara realized this was what redemption looked like. Not erasing the past, but transforming it into something beautiful. "I love you," she told Gabriel, "by choice, by force, by every measure that matters." "I love you too," he replied, "and I still won't let you go." "Good, because I'm not going anywhere. Even if I end up back in the chair? Even if we both do." They laughed, spinning among their children, their chosen family, their redeemed past and chosen future spinning with them. The forced marriage that had started in desperation had become a chosen love story. The paralyzed billionaire had learned to walk and, more importantly, to love. The woman sold to save her father had bought her own freedom and, more importantly, her family's future. And somewhere in the crowd, Clara spotted another young woman watching with tears in her eyes. Another forced bride, perhaps, looking for hope. Clara caught her eye and smiled, a smile that said, "Sometimes the worst beginnings lead to the best endings. Sometimes force becomes choice. Sometimes, just sometimes, being made to marry someone teaches you how to choose them forever." The music swelled. Gabriel dipped her dramatically. Their children giggled. And Clara knew that every forced moment had been worth it for this chosen eternity. "No regrets?" Gabriel asked one more time. "Never," Clara answered. "Not a single one." And she meant it. Every forced step had led to this chosen dance, and she wouldn't change a single stumble along the way. If this continuation touched your heart, please subscribe for more emotional love stories. Share in the comments. Do you believe forced circumstances can lead to chosen love? Have you ever had to transform a difficult situation into something beautiful? Remember, sometimes the paths we don't choose lead us exactly where we need to be. Thank you for following Clara and Gabriel's journey. And don't forget to ring that notification bell for more powerful stories of love, redemption, and second chances.